Iya sat in silence, the hum of a distant generator filling the tiny room in Aihegunle. The wall clock ticked too loud, her eyes fixed on the open wardrobe. Kunla's clothes, gone. Just like that. She picked up her phone again. The last WhatsApp message glowed on the screen. "I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry." No calls, no warning. 8 years of marriage dissolved in 10 words. Her fingers trembled as she dropped the phone beside a stack of unopened IVF bills. The air reeked of kerosene and old tears. Outside, a child cried. Someone shouted about Nipa. Life moved on. Inside, Iya sat on the edge of the bed they once shared, still in the wrapper she'd tied since morning. Her chest burned with questions, none of them with answers. Friends stopped calling months ago. Her mother had said it. A woman without a child is a woman waiting to be replaced. She wasn't angry. Not yet. Just empty. The mirror across the room caught her reflection. Dull eyes, cracked lips, and the faint outline of a woman who once believed love could fix anything. That night, the power cut again. She lay in the dark, mosquitoes humming around her ears, tears soaking her pillow. Her life, once full of plans and prayers, now felt like a shadow on a peeling wall. But in that silence, something deeper stirred. Not hope yet, but a refusal, a flicker. This wasn't the end. The smell of burnt rice filled the kitchen, but Aya didn't care. It was her first day out in weeks, and the ache in her chest still pulsed with every step. The child welfare center in Surulere buzzed with noise, crying toddlers, impatient nurses, the rattle of an old ceiling fan. She had come to donate clothes. Nothing more. Then she saw them. 5 girls huddled in the corner of the corridor, heads pressed together like frightened chicks. Their eyes tracked everyone, yet their mouths stayed shut. The social worker barely looked up from her register. Pipeline explosion. Ikorodu side. Parents gone. No relatives. They come as a set. Iya blinked. A set? The woman shrugged. No one wants all 5. Too much. The youngest, barely 4, clung to a stuffed bunny that had long lost its ears. The eldest stood like a soldier, chin raised, eyes sharp. The twins whispered to each other in some silent code. The quiet one stared at a broken pencil, like it held a secret. That night, Iya couldn't sleep. She lay in the dark, the image of their tiny bodies curled up on a shared mattress haunting her. Her chest tightened. "This is the family you prayed for," a voice whispered inside. She shot up, heart racing. Not the one you expected, but the one meant for you. At dawn, she returned to the center. "I'll take them," she said. The social worker paused, pen mid-air. All 5? All 5. People said she had lost her mind. A single woman? 5 girls. Her neighbor in Aihegunle scoffed, dragging her stool closer to the shared tap. Even rich women know they try this one. Iya didn't argue. She had 1 room, a shared kitchen, and a salary that barely stretched to the end of the month. But she also had 5 mattresses stacked on the wall, her late father's kerosene stove, and a heart swollen with a strange, holy fire. One by one, they came home. Tari, the eldest at 10, stepped in first, eyes scanning the room like a guard. Next was Kemi, quiet and careful, clutching battered science book. The twins, Adeze and Adana, trailed behind, arguing over whose turn it was to carry their shared backpack. And little Tenny? She stood at the door, frozen. Then slowly she stepped in, still holding her bunny with 1 ear. Iya had prepared jollof rice, made with borrowed Maggi cubes and the last of her tomatoes. They ate in silence, except the twins, who whispered between mouthfuls. That night, the mattress on the floor held more than children. It held a beginning. The next few days were chaos. Cupboards emptied faster than she could refill them. Water finished halfway through bath time. Her wrapper never stayed tied for long. But when Tari held Tenny's hand during a thunderstorm, or when Kemi washed the plates without being asked, or when Adaize and Adana curled up beside her during their nap, Iya felt something she hadn't in years. Chosen, not by a man, not by blood, but by purpose. She was no longer just a woman healing from heartbreak. She was a mother now. The face me, I face you buzzed with new energy and judgment. Children peeked through open doors. Market women whispered by the tap. Someone shouted, "Madam Mother, Teresa don carry 5 Pekins, way no be her own." Iya ignored them. She had bigger problems. Tenny cried through most nights. Kemi refused to eat beans. The twins poured Omo powder into the soup pot to see if it would bubble better. Tari locked herself in the bathroom, standing guard, always watching. One morning, a neighbor knocked. "Your children, they use the couch, do trampoline." Iya smiled weakly. "Not children, nah." Inside, her old couch groaned under little feet. Crayon marks stained the wall. The TV remote had disappeared. Twice. But there were miracles, too. Kemi whispered, "Thank you," for the first time. The twins choreographed a dance to a gospel song and performed it in the hallway. Tenny began humming as she traced shapes in the dust. Tari brought home a note from school. Excellent performance. Strong leadership. Ija stretched her N45, 000 salary like nylon. She took on evening data entry gigs, wrote short pieces for blogs. Some nights she cried into her scarf while the girls slept, praying for strength. But when Tenny wrapped her tiny arms around her waist and whispered, "I love you, Mummy," everything made sense. In the middle of the noise, the struggle, and the laughter, something sacred took root. This chaos was hers, and she wouldn't trade it for the world. Years passed, and the Ajagunle compound slowly learned to mind their business. What once drew gossip now drew admiration. People still whispered, but now it sounded like, "Now that woman Wade raise queens." Tari became razor sharp, schooling older kids on right and wrong, like a lawyer in training. At 13, she joined a human rights club in Ikeja and returned home quoting the Constitution. Kemi lived in the world of wires and wonders. She dismantled a broken fan and turned it into a phone charger. "I want to build things that make life better," she once said, adjusting her glasses. Adaize and Adana, their twin TikTok page blew up overnight. Dancing, styling thrift clothes from Yaba Market, remixing gospel tunes with street fashion. They became small celebrities, even got a feature in a Lagos teen magazine. Tenny, the once silent girl, now sang every morning, soft, angelic, fearless. In church, her solos made ushers weep. The neighbors began calling her the little voice with big power. Iya never missed a parent-teacher meeting. She sold Puff Puff at the bus stop on Saturdays, ran errands for older women for small change, all just to afford uniforms and books. She never asked for praise, but in her eyes, she saw crowns, shining, invisible, but undeniable. One rainy evening, the girls pulled her out into the flooded compound. Barefoot, they danced under the downpour, laughing, spinning, free. As thunder rolled above, Iya looked at them, strong, vibrant hers, and whispered, "You are safe, you are loved, you are mine." Iya turned 60 with little fanfare in mind. She planned to fry yamarita, listen to old Ebenezer Obey songs, and maybe rest her knees for once. But the girls had other plans. They arrived one by one that morning. Tare now wore suits and spoke at conferences. Kemi came with a tech backpack and something always beeping. The twins burst in with camera lights, glitter eyeshadow, and loud laughter. Tenny walked in last, carrying a small cake and humming her latest gospel single. The kitchen filled with the scent of moi moi, peppered jollof, and groundnut stew. Then came the surprise, a golden cake shaped like a crown. But that wasn't all. "Close your eyes, Mummy," Adaiza said, grinning. When she opened them, Kemi handed her a ribbon with a single silver key. "You're not renting again," she whispered. "Come and see." They drove her to Lekki. Quiet streets, wide sidewalks, the opposite of Ajagunle's chaos. A new 2-story house stood waiting. White paint, hibiscus hedges, a front porch that could seat 20. Inside, framed photos of their journey lined the hallway, from their first meal together to Tari's debate medal, to Tenny's album launch. Isha's knees buckled. "We built it," Kemi said, "for you." Later that day, they handed her a folder. Inside, trust fund documents, school investments, health insurance, everything she once begged God for, now written in ink. She didn't say much, just wept into Tenny's lap, whispering, "You girls were my miracle." They held her tight, and for the first time in years, she didn't worry about tomorrow. 1 year later, the girls returned, not just as daughters, but as brides. All 5 had said yes within months of each other. Instead of separate weddings, they chose one grand celebration, one stage, one mother. The Civic Centre in Victoria Island glittered with gold drapery and fresh white roses. Media crews buzzed outside. Guests in Aso Ebi filled the hall. Politicians, influencers, pastors, even a few celebrities. Adaiza and Adana designed the dresses, each one reflecting the bride's personality. Tari's was regal, Kemi's minimalist, the twins' dramatic and glamorous, Tenny's flowing like a worship song. But before vows were exchanged, the MC stepped forward. "Before we honor these brides," he said, "we honor the woman who raised them." The crowd rose, cameras turned. Ije, dressed in royal blue lace and coral beads, was escorted to the seat of honor. Tears fell down her cheeks as the girls knelt before her, one by one. Each whispered a blessing, a thank you, a quiet prayer. "You gave us love before we knew our names," Tenny said. "You saw queens when the world saw burdens," added Tari. Iya couldn't speak. Her hands trembled as she held theirs. All she could say was, "God did more than I asked." The wedding trended across Nigeria. The photo of Iya and her 5 brides went viral, captioned, "The Mother of Queens." Soon after, an NGO invited her to join a campaign called Homes of Hope, matching abandoned children with loving guardians. She accepted, not for fame, but for the mission. A year later, her story became a documentary. It was titled The Queen Who Chose Them, and every Sunday in Lekki, the sound of gospel music, grandchildren's laughter, and the clink of chin-chin jars still filled her home. At 89, when Iya passed on peacefully, they buried her in white and gold. Her tombstone read, "She raised queens, built nations, and chose love."